Welcome back to another episode of A Gift from Adversity. My name is Juri Love. I'm your host. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we are recording episode 153. Before I introduce my guest, I want to introduce my book, which is the same title as this podcast. It's called A Gift from Adversity, and it's all available on Amazon. And this is the book about my life. And then the subtitle of this book is Overcoming Sexual Abuse, Domestic Violence, Bullying, and Homelessness. So let's invite today's guest. Hello, how are you doing?
I am doing great. How about you?
Very good, thank you. So please tell us who you are, where you're coming in from today, and then what you do. And if you have any social media or any website do you want to shout out, please go ahead.
Sure. Sure. My name is Daniel Jackson. I go by Spirit Medium Daniel. I am in from southern Arizona. I'm about 12 miles north of the Mexico border. I'm about 20 minutes southwest of Tombstone, Arizona. I'm a spirit medium. I see everything that has passed away. I don't just see people. I see dogs, cats, horses, cows, fish, other beings from other worlds. I see everything. Uh, if people want to find me on social media, they can find me on Instagram at spirit.medium.daniel. Um, they can find me on Facebook at the Spirit Medium Daniel Facebook group. They can find me if they wanted to get a reading with me. I do readings that they can find that at spiritmediumdaniel.com. They can watch my podcast that I have called Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, and that is on newrealitytv.com. And if they wanted to get my book, it's called The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. They can find that on Amazon.
So before we go into the main topic, what is spirit medium do, and then why do people need spirit medium?
What I do is I get answers for people. People come to me. Basically, they come to me because they want an answer from God, and I get the answer for them. But people do have a hard time with that sometimes because they don't always like the truth. I communicate with spirit and archangels, but although I communicate with regular spirit, I get all my answers from archangels. Archangels are not men with wings and shields and swords. They are not, but they are beings of a higher consciousness that are here to help us to get through our lives the better way. And I'm able to communicate with them. I see them, hear them, feel them, communicate with them. They touch me all day long. I get answers. I get answers other people can't get.
Well, very interesting. Well, thank you so much. So, Daniel, let's dive into our first question, which is the adversity. So, what was your adversity?
My adversity was seeing as much spirit as I do. I've seen them ever since I was the age of 3 years old, but it progressed throughout my life to the point where right before I was turning 50 years old, I was seeing so much. It was like being in a room with 1,000 people, except nobody leaves and more just keep coming in. I don't, my adversity is I don't ever not see them, ever. It doesn't turn off for me. It doesn't go away. People say they want my ability, they want my gift. It's when I start explaining some of the things that happen to me throughout my day, they quickly retract that statement. They don't want what I want because it is more than just some type of fascination that they believe it is, or it is more than just talking to a spirit or as I do, archangels, and getting an answer for one or two things. I get answers all day long, but I also witness a lot of things that people just do not want to see. They don't. Sometimes for me at night, I will see something that looks like the worst horror movie that you've ever seen in your entire life, except you wouldn't see this one because they wouldn't be able to show it in movies and TVs because it is that bad. And for me, it doesn't turn off until it decides it's going to turn off. I can't make it. And that is within being a dark room or having my eyes closed. So imagine having that and then trying to go to sleep. That's what I have. That is my adversity. But, it's just part of life, you know, my life.
So you said as young as 3 years old, you start to see these things, and then
Yeah.
how were your parents reacting to your ability?
They were seeing it too where we lived. I lived I grew up in a small town in New Jersey, right next to the Delaware River, and there was a small hospital and a battlefield right there in our town. This is where the Hessians fought. So a lot of people were experiencing these ghostly type things happening in that part of town. So both my brother and two brothers, my sister and my mom and dad were seeing these things as well. But it was later, by the time I was 17, my parents and I and my one brother moved down to Delaware. One brother only stayed for about a year, but we moved down there, I was the only one who was continuing to see them on a regular daily basis.
And then how about school? It must be kind of hard at school as well. And then maybe teachers maybe treated you a little bit different, or maybe friends. Like
Mm,
how were the relationship with your friends, your
Some of
social?
my friends knew about this, but I didn't go around telling everybody. I mean, because if you tell everybody, they're going to start calling you names. They're going to start picking on you. They're going to call you, oh, you must be a witch or something like that, or why are they talking to you, and why are these things happening to you? Why is it just you? And they'll start picking on you, and I didn't want that for me. So, I mean, some of the kids in our neighborhood knew because we all lived in this small little town. But once I started to grow up and get into high school, I mean, it was just more or less I was telling some ghost stories, but that's about it. But I didn't talk about anything else. And then then growing up, being around other people, I would only say things to some people that I knew I could trust. But I wasn't blabbering this to everybody because it just wasn't anybody else's business at that time.
So what are the challenges as being a medium? I know, like, some people make business and TV shows and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
you know, I am sure back then it wasn't accepted as much as today's, like, who's that guy? Matt Fraser, different mediums on the TVs, right?
Yeah,
And then
it wasn't accepted. No, not a
yeah,
yeah,
right.
you heard about it once in a while, but you didn't hear it as often as you do now. So yeah, back then it was hard, but I wasn't a medium then. I didn't find out I was a medium until right before turning 50 years old. I'm now 58 years old. And it is challenging at times because people still don't can fully accept it. They don't accept what I do. They think it's going to be creepy, or they're afraid that some demon or some devil is going to come through and cause them some problems. And that's why they're afraid to talk to us sometimes. But a lot of people are just afraid because they don't want to hear the truth. That's why. But it is hard.
So growing up and then having this ability, like, what was your maybe like dream, like a realistic dream when you were growing up? Because you hear so many things and maybe you see yourself's future. Like maybe do you see a future of yourself? And then
No, I didn't see a future of this. I was just like anyone else because I was having so many experiences all the time. There were times that was very frightening to me. It was very frightening to me all the way up until the point of becoming a medium because I was having so much happen to me. It got to the point where my wife and I, it was right around before turning 50, about 6 months before that, that we had so much activity going on in our home, we had to have a paranormal group come to the house and check it out for us. And when they got to my home, uh, the one good part about that was that they were experiencing the same things my wife and I were. They were hearing the same voices. They were witnessing the lights turn on and off. To see, they put up they put these little mechanisms around the house with a little box with a light bulb on it and a little wire sticking out of it. And I said, "What's that for?" And the guy said, "Oh, well, spirit. They produce a static electricity." So he put his hand on the couch and rubbed it on there and waved it above this box, and the bike box lit up and made this sound. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, but what was taking place was what really when it became strange. He put them around some doorways, and then he wanted us to go into different rooms, and I would lead the group into the room. Every time I walked past those boxes, they all lit up. It's when they walked through, nothing happened. Everything was involving me. They took pictures of me walking around the house, and I'd be standing next to someone in the group or by myself. But every time it was a picture of me in it, I had 15 to 20 light orbs completely surrounding me in the picture. If they took a picture of somebody else, there was nothing. So everything that was taking place in the house was happening around me. It was when it got real crazy is when they had me go into my bedroom and lay down to pretend I was sleeping because I had a lot of things going on in the bedroom. And they came in with a thing called an ovulus, a spirit box. You've seen them before. And they turned it on. And as soon as they turned it on, it spit out words: Wendy, Michael, Paul, Helen, unique, special, light, energy. One time it said the word road, like a street. It said road. And then a car went past my house. But it was when they started asking questions is when it got really strange. They started asking questions and they did it for 10 minutes and they timed it and it lasted exactly 10 minutes. But one of the questions I remember them asking was, "Are you here to harm Daniel?" And then the voice came through and said, "No, we are not here to harm Daniel. We love Daniel. We love Daniel's light. Daniel is the light." When it said Daniel is the light, I didn't know what to think of that. What does it mean that I am the light? So they asked questions. They got done. They walked out of the room. I got up. I walked out into the room. I saw my wife standing there. I saw them standing there in a huddle. I said to my wife, "What's taking place here?" She said, "I don't know. It's something important." They got done. They turned around to me. And I was excited at that point because, again, they were witnessing the same things I was, my wife and I were. So I asked them, "Hey, you got that, didn't you? I mean, that was pretty good, right?" And they said, "Well, yes, we got it, but there's an issue, Mr. Jackson." And I was like, "Issue? What do you mean issue?" I said, "It wasn't bad or anything." He said, "No, it wasn't bad, but whenever it was speaking, there was an issue." I said, "Well," he said, "Whenever we use that box, we can get it to spit out one or two words, but it never says sentences, and it doesn't say sentences for 10 minutes." He said it was full and complete sentences. Every time we asked a question, it answered. It never does that. It usually takes a few seconds for them to say something, but it answered right away. We got to figure this out because this is very strange to us as well. We're seeing so many strange things go on in this house. We got to figure it out. We'll come back a couple of weeks and we'll give you a big reveal. Well, they never came back. By the time they got on my front lawn and they left, my wife and I like, okay, what do we do now? And then I tried to call them because they were supposed to come back 2 weeks later. By the time I got hold of them 6 weeks later, he said they were not coming back because when they got out of my front lawn, the team broke up. I said, "Well, aren't you?" He said, "They're not coming back. I can't get them back together. They're too scared to come back into your house." He said, "They don't get that kind of information from one home. It usually takes like 10 or 15 to get all that kind of information, not just one." So, I mean, even when they first pulled up, they showed up with their little van and had an insignia on it. I just thought to myself, I don't want to be this kind of famous. I don't want to be that person who lives next to other people and that person who's got all these ghosts going on and everyone else is thinking, what the heck's going on in this house next door? But I then became that person. It's just the way it is. But yeah, it was not something I was looking to become at that point. I was just trying to figure out what the heck was going on.
So when you um communicate with the spirit, and then um the adversity part of it, I know you said you can't turn it off, like, it
Right.
just comes constantly. Like,
Yes, it's all
how about
always
your
on.
like how about your like mental stage, like, sanity? Like, how do you keep up with the reality and then the voices that you hear? Like, how do you like mixture? I know this is your life and it has been your life, entire life, but how are you dealing with it daily? Like, how have you been? like managing your daily tasks, and then just, job or whatever, like.
Sure, sure, I get it. Well, that took some getting used to. I communicate with archangels all day, every day. There's not a moment in my life that I'm not in communication with them. So, and I know where they are. I know who they are, what they do for me, and what they do for everyone else. I know they are good beings. I know they are trying to help me, but I also know with their communication that I am being protected throughout my entire day. So none of these real bad ones that come through can actually touch me. They can't even get close to me. Whenever I see them, they're usually about 8 to 10 feet away. They can't get closer than that. So I'm not afraid of them at this point because I don't just see what we would call going into heaven. I see in this lower energy realm, what some people call an earthbound realm. I see the low energy place and I see all the bad ones. I saw a really bad one yesterday. Uh, and they say things to me, and sometimes they say things to me that are just absolutely not pleasant whatsoever. The types of things I would give a prime example. That spirit know that I have firearms in my house, and I have had spirit tell me to pick up a gun and shoot myself. And I hear that plain as day as a voice coming through to me or into me in through my soul or out loud telling me to do that. Do you want to hear that? No one wants to hear that. That's why I tell a lot of people, don't if you don't know what you're doing, absolutely don't go out and pursue this because you have absolutely no idea what's out there. And I see everything. And I'm telling you, you don't want to see it. You think you do, but you don't want to see it. It is not something to play with. They're in another dimension. They can do whatever the heck they want to you, and you can't do anything about it. You can't make them go away. No one can do that. The only way you can do that is by being a positive person, and that will make them go away because they don't want to be around that. But I just deal with it knowing that I'm protected every day, all day long. And they reinforce that protection by talking to me and talking through things with me when I see these horrible ones do come around me. Now, not everything that does come around me is horrible because I see everything. I see dogs and cats walking around and horses and cows and giraffes and everything walking around that are in spirit. There's absolutely no rainbow bridge. That is a crock of crap right there. The lie. That's a poem. That is not a real thing. Not everything crosses over into heaven. That's just the truth. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. That's just the way it is. And spirit don't walk around and say, "Oh, he's going to the bathroom. Let me take a break from. I don't want to bother him." They don't do that because they don't care because they can do whatever the heck they want to do. But it's just something you have to learn to do. Like in the basis of my book, in the same way, if you're having these kinds of problems with that, it's not a problem for me anymore, but I'm used to it. But that took a long time for me to get used to. But if you're having these kinds of things going on with you, or even anything in your life, go out and find your people. Go out and find someone else who can help you to deal with this because there's somebody else out there in the 7.5 billion people in this world who have gone through it or maybe are going through it right now who can help you to deal with this. Don't think that you're ever alone in this world because you're not. But you also have spiritual guides here who can help you as well. But you have to learn to have a better life to be able to get in touch with them. So, and that's what I had to do in order to be in touch with these archangels. I had to change my entire life around. And once I did that, that made it easier as well because then I don't have to put up with all the bullcrap from regular people who are always causing bullcrap all day long. So, but it's not been easy with me. It's been a long time to learn how to. I don't have to get angry over the spirit saying something to me. I don't have to get upset by them saying something to me. But again, like I said, I'm protected. I'm protected because one of the main things that I do for archangels and for God is I cross spirit over into the light. In order to do that, I have to be protected from all the negative ones. That's me. But that's not anybody else. And that's something again, if you're going through something, like, absolutely go out and find someone else who can help you with it, who can guide you to do that. I have guidance every day, all day long, and providing that guidance and that safety for me, and that has brought, a sense within my heart to know that I don't have to worry about being afraid of these. But that again, I had to learn to trust that as well, and that took a little while for me to learn to trust that, but now I trust it completely. I trust them completely with my life. So, but it did take, about a year and a half for me to learn how to trust that on that journey of becoming a medium.
Well, thank you so much for sharing it. It's very interesting. And then, like you said, like you have your own life, like, that people, like regular people see, but then you have a whole other dimension
Oh,
of
yes.
spirit. And then,
Yes, if somebody walked into Walmart, they see a 100 or 500 people. I see 500 people, and then I see thousands of those who have passed away, dead people, what people would say, I see dead people. I see them everywhere. I had to learn to navigate through my life while seeing them and regular people at the same time. Imagine trying to do that because all the dead ones are staring at me all the time.
so do you see event in the future, like major event that may happen and that you are able to navigate?
Oh, yes. I actually had an event that came a message that came to me, back in, 2000, around end of 2017. It was more like 2018. I'm able to do something called channeling. I don't do it very often now because now they just bring the direct messages directly to me. But my guides told me that, COVID was coming. So, during the time that they brought me this message, I was out doing festivals where I go to festivals and I do readings, these, psychic arts fairs and that type of thing. And I was working with this company called Illuminate Festivals on the East Coast. Shout out to my friend Judy. And as I was on that festival, I was telling some people. I wasn't telling everybody, and the reason I wasn't telling everybody is because the information I was being told, I knew not everybody could handle. So I told it to the people I knew who could handle it. And those people, I told them how to prepare as my wife and I prepared. By the time COVID came, my wife and I were stocked up. I had 3 years worth of toilet paper at my house because they told me what kind of shortages would happen. So at that time, I was telling certain people what to look out for, when it was going to come, because I got another message. I was getting messages throughout that period of time. And then the last message I got from them was in January, right before it came. And they said, get ready, it's coming soon. So I told everybody else who I told before, it's coming soon, be prepared. And I was even telling some of the people I was doing readings at this place when I was there doing it reading because I was at another place doing readings when they told me that message and I was done that festival. I went online and told all the people I know. Luckily, I got about 20 messages from people who said they were so glad that they listened to me. And then I got a bunch of messages from people that said they wished they had listened to me, but they thought I was crazy. I'm not crazy. When I get a message and I'm trying to help people in that type of manner, you need to listen because I get everything right and I got it completely right.
Yeah, no, I trust you, and then I trust these abilities that it's interesting because people don't talk about it is maybe as adversity, but the people who have these gifts, it's a curse sometimes that um
I get to help people every day. I wouldn't call that a curse.
well, no, I'm talking about, like, you have a platform, you have acceptance right now, but when you're a
Correct.
kid, when you couldn't figure
Yeah, not so
out,
much. Yeah,
yeah, I'm just
yeah.
saying that,
It was hard.
sometimes, like, when you can't figure out the intertwined life. And then, to be honest, I had that in Japan. And sometimes when I tune in, I do hear. And then sometimes people just don't believe me, and just people think I'm crazy.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because what people don't understand, they are afraid of. That's why.
And then sometimes I don't. know if I should share. Like, for instance, the Boston Marathon bomb happened, and then all I heard was this techno rave music, and then the bomber, like the letter D, like it was coming to me, and then I told some people, but I just obviously couldn't, like, tell police or anything. And then
Sure.
obviously the guy who was in charge, one of the brothers' name started with D, and then I don't know about the music, but it's kind of weird. And then also like somebody touched me, and then like, oh, you're pregnant, and then she's like, how do you know? Or like, somebody like touched, like, touched me, and he said, your baby's name is Henry. How do you know? My husband's father, his name is Henry. I don't know any of it. It just told me, like, it's
Right.
just weird. But then when I tell these things, people are either afraid, people either think I'm crazy,
Right.
and then so I kind of shut down. And I had a teacher when I was growing up, like seventh grade, told my family that, is she gonna be a medium or something? And then because I started to get known when I was a kid, so
Sure.
people started to like ask my visions and stuff. It's kind of weird, but I really completely like put it aside and then didn't pursue as a career or whatever. But then I feel like sometimes the prejudice, sometimes the kids, like, you had a choice to not tell many people, but
Correct.
you could have told people, and you could have shared these things when you were a kid, and then that could have been very messy, like especially like,
Correct.
teachers and whatnot. And I was stupid that I actually shared some things, and then the teacher even reached out to my parents, and it was just like messy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even when I was young, it was just pretty much ghost stories because we had a lot of things that were happening on in our house. Again, but we lived in our part of the neighborhood. Everyone was kind of going through that, and we would tell some people, and they would want to come over and try to experience it for themselves. Uh, but luckily it didn't get out of hand in that way. But I didn't start receiving answers like I do now until I actually decided to move forward with this because what had taken place was I was having so much going on uh, that I didn't get any answers, a lot of enough answers or help from that paranormal group because they really couldn't help me. I reached out and found some mediums, and when I did, I went to one of them. I called her up, and she wanted me to come to see her show, and I said, "Why do you want me to do that?" She says, "Well, I want you to see how I do it." Now, I was like, "Why does she want me to know how she does it?" I don't know. So I bought tickets, and my wife and I went. I didn't tell her I was coming, but when I walked through the door in this auditorium, there was she was on the stage and she locked eyes with me. She saw me open the door. She saw me walk in and followed me through the room with her eyes until I sat down. And then my wife looked at me and said, "That was kind of creepy." And I said, "Yeah, I don't know what." She said, "Did you tell her we were coming?" I said I would come, but I didn't say when. I just bought tickets to the closest show to us. It was just she started reading everybody in the room. She read 8 people. I was the second one she read, and some answers came through about my father. She said, "There's a spirit here named Robert, but he goes by Bob, and he fell down, and that's how he passed away. And he wore flannel shirts and a suit." And she said, "Does that resonate with anybody?" And I stood up and said, "Yeah, my dad's name is Robert, but he goes by Bob. But he did fell down. That's how he passed away." And then she said, uh, "Who is Sarah?" And I said, "Sarah?" She said, "Yeah, the one who had to make the big decision." I said, "Oh, that's my mom. Her middle name is Sarah. She's the one that had to make the big decision for the doctors to pull the plug because when he fell down, it moved his brainstem. He was not coming out of it." So at the end of the show, I went down and introduced myself, and she said, "Oh, you're the guy I talked to on the phone." I said, "Yeah." And then she talked to me like I was 7 years old. Juri, she said, "Don't move. Stay right here. Wait till everybody leaves. you and I need to talk. And I thought like, oh no, I'm in trouble. What did I do? But when everybody left, she said to me, she said, I understand you see a lot of spirit. I said, yeah, it's like being in a room with 1,000 people. Nobody leaves. I just see more and more. And she said, yeah, well, you see a lot. I know you can see them. She said, but you see so many because they're coming to you. And I said, why would they be coming to me? She said, well, for the same reason, the way that I saw you walk in the room. I said, yeah, my wife and I thought that was a little creepy. And she laughed and she said, well, and as I know, when spirits see you, when they see someone, they see your body frame. They see a light inside of you. That light is your soul. But some of us have a light that's brighter than others. And the spirit know that that light inside of that person, that is someone that they can communicate with. She said, but I don't see you that way, and neither does spirit. I said, how do they see me? She said, like I see you. When I saw you walk in the room, you just look like a figure, a human figure, but you're solid, pure white light. You're just light all over. I don't even see a body frame. And I said, all right. And I said, what's that mean? She said, well, spirit are coming to you for that reason, because they believe that you're the light into heaven. And that's why they're coming to you. That's why you see so many. And I was like, oh, what do I do with that? And she said, well, you have to make a big decision. And I said, for what? She said, to do this. I said, do what? What are you talking about? She said, oh, Daniel, you're just an untrained medium. That's all. And I was like, what? What do you mean I'm untrained? She said, you're just untrained. You haven't been trained to do this. But you have to make a decision whether or not you're going to do it or not. And I said, well, how do I do that? She said, you need to have a talk with God. You have to let him know whether or not this is what you want to do or not, because this is a big responsibility. So by the end of that, my wife and I went home on the way home and we talked about it. But when I got home, I said to my wife, I said, how am I going to have a talk with God? And my wife is very good in putting things into perspective for me. She said, how do you talk to him any other time? You just talk to him. So I did. I decided to go in the bedroom. I turned out the lights and I had a talk with him. And it basically went like this. I said, God, I said, whatever you want me to do, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it. If you want me to help these spirits or these souls, or even if you want me to help people, that's what I'll do. I will be whatever you want me to be. I will do whatever you want me to do. I will go wherever you need me to be. No matter where it is, I'll go. But I'm going to need some help because I have no idea what I'm doing here. And then at the end, I walked out of the bedroom, said to my wife, I said, okay, I did it. We'll see what happens. And then the very next day, everything changed for me. And then I started to see less of what I was seeing, because what I was seeing at my home was like everything you've ever seen in a scary movie was going on in my home. I see green and red mist pouring out of the walls and skulls floating around with eyes and fangs and 7-8 foot skeletons walking around the house, all kinds of creatures coming out of the walls. I saw all kinds of clouds coming out of the corner of the room. One night it would be red, the next one blue, green, yellow, and then each night then it would be blue with black stripes or red with black stripes. I saw all kinds of crazy stuff. After that time that I talked to him, then it started to fade away. All the scary stuff started to fade away. And then I started seeing these bluish white lights that were coming up out of the ceiling. And they would come out of the ceiling and go through the ceiling, completely surrounding me. And then I started seeing things flying around the room that looked like a half man and a half bird, but they were more like bird-like. And I see colors when I'm in a dark room or when I have my eyes closed. The colors I see are what you would see in that movie Avatar. That's what I see every single night of my life. And then they started talking to me and communicating with me, these beings that were around me. But at that time, I was just seeing the bluish white lights come out of the floor. I don't see that anymore. I see their actual true form now. And again, they are not men with wings and shields and swords. If most people saw what they actually look like, they would run away because they would say, that's a monster. But they are not. They're just beings of a higher consciousness. And even in the very beginning, I had to go through a sort of purging in order to be able to see them, hear them, feel them, and communicate with them better. But I had to learn because being touched by an angel, by an archangel, is not like a TV show. It's not by any means. This is a very strong energy. You may have been touched by a spirit, but you've never been touched by an archangel because I know the experience. When they touched me, I would feel these cold touches all over my body. They were working on me so I could see them, hear them, feel them, communicate with them. And then the very next day, I would be throwing up and crapping everywhere. And this would go on for like 3 or 4 hours. And then I would heal up for it. And then it would happen again 2 weeks later. This went on every month for 3 years. So when anyone else tells me that they work with archangels and I ask them, what do they look like? Or if they've ever felt that or ever had that going through and they say no, then I know they're not working with archangels. I know they're not working with angels. They're just telling you that so they can get more customers. I call them out on it all the time. When I tell them all that stuff, they go, no, that's not happening to me. I said, yeah. Oh, what do angels look like? Oh, they have wings. They don't have wings. There is no wind beneath their wings in order for them to fly. The only reason one would have wings is because that was his previous incarnation. But they don't all have wings. That's a bunch of baloney. When I see archangels around me, I see 8-foot praying mantises standing around me. I see some that look like birds, some that look like other mammals. Some are humanoid and some are not human at all. So when these other people say, "Oh, I do this and I do that," when I start telling them the real truth, they go, "No, I don't see that." Yeah, then you're not doing what you say you do either. Stop telling people that. But this was a process. This process for me to go through that first year and a half. I had all that going on with me in that first year and a half. And now it's just different. But it took a lot to go through.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your adversity and then story about this interesting world. Now, let's move on to my next question, which is the tools that you use to overcome this adversity. So you mentioned some, but can you please share what are some tools that worked to overcome this adversity?
One of the things that you have to do is you have to learn to get rid of fear. You can't let fear control your life. I had to learn that these beings are here to help me to bring others messages. And I had to learn to let go of fear so I could learn to trust myself, trust where that information is coming from. So letting go of fear is the biggest one. I meet so many mediums who can't move forward with their ability because they are so afraid of where the information is coming from, or so afraid to give the information to someone in fear of that person not agreeing with it. Well, if they don't agree with it, that's just their problem. That's because they don't like the truth. That's not your problem. So getting rid of fear is the big one. But the biggest one of all is my favorite three things of learn to listen, learn to trust, and learn to follow through. Those are my favorite three tools. Why? Because you have to listen to what is being told to you. You have to trust that the information that is being told to you is coming from a good place. And then you have to follow through with giving those answers. Now, I know, like you and I were talking about, like you were talking about, this is a hard thing to do, to hear these things and know you have this information, but in fear of spreading that information out to other people. When this comes about, especially becoming a medium, for us, this is like anyone else who's coming out of the closet. This is the same thing. You have to put yourself out there, and you have to put yourself out there knowing that everyone else in the world is now going to judge you. They're going to look at you differently, and you got to be okay with that. And that's part of that trust thing. You got to learn to trust and know that you were given this ability for a reason. God gave you this ability for a reason. Every time that you come into this world, because we all come back over and over and over again, those of us that have this, it comes through with you every single time. This is not something you get passed down from your mom and dad. This is brought with your soul. And every single time that you have to come back into this world, what they call reincarnation, you're just coming back for another trip. You have this, but not every time do you wake up with it. But when you do wake up with it again, God gave this to you. I can't be in fear of something that He gave me, like somebody who God gave an ability to become a doctor and be a brain surgeon. He's there to do what he's meant to do. I am meant to do this. This is what He wants to me do, and I have to trust Him and trust myself. But I have to listen what is being told to me, trust what is being given to me, and then follow through so I can help everyone that is coming to me for answers. And I have to do it in a way that no matter what they ask me, I have to give them the answer. And sometimes they ask for questions that I will sometimes say to them, don't ask questions that you don't want answers to, because I'll get the answer. But if you don't really want that answer, don't ask me. And I've had situations where they've asked me. And when I gave them the answer, they absolutely didn't like it. But it's still the truth. As I always tell everyone, you may not get the reading that you want, but you will get the reading that you need. Let go of your ego out there. Let go of all that other crap out there, because just because I'm not going to give you everything you want to hear. I'm going to give you everything that you need to hear so that you can. What I do is I give people peace of mind and clarity, but I give them direction so that they can get everything done that they're supposed to do in this life so they can go home and stay home, meaning go home to heaven and not come back here and do this all over again, because your life is not about just you. It's not about having 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats. It's about us helping each other in this world. That's what your purpose is. You could be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher, but that's not your purpose. Your purpose is going to be fulfilled by being human. And that purpose is we're here to help each other just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because you should, because you can, in a very simple way. But you got to put the rest, all that other crap that's going on in your life that you think is so important, like taking 1,000 selfies and putting them on Facebook all day long. That is not important. That is a self-esteem problem. Go get that fixed. We are here to help each other. So the tools that you have are learning to know that you can listen, trust, and follow through with what you're being given all day long too. Because when you wake up in the morning and you have an idea comes in your head, says, I need to go to the mall today. Well, then you need to go to the mall, because that idea didn't come from you. That came from another place, a higher realm, trying to get your connected with your spirit guides, connect with your soul to get you to go do things that you need to do. You're meant to do, so that you can get into those places of fulfilling your purpose and helping others so you can go home and stay home. It's not about having the fastest car in the world or having all the money in the bank in the world. That's just bull crap is what that is. We're here to take care of each other. But my favorite 3 tools are listening, trusting, and following through. That should be everyone's favorite tools. But learning to trust yourself, learning to have trust and faith within yourself that you can do anything you want to in this world. Why? Because you're good enough. You just have to believe in that. That's all.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for coming to a Gift from Adversity episode 153. I really appreciate it. My last question to you is, what was the gift that came from your adversity?
The gift that I got is I'm able to help people every day. I'm always helping people. Everyone that I ever come in contact, even my regular friends, they know that this is what I am and this is what I do. And they will sometimes step away from the other guys in the group or step away from other people and ask me a personal question. And I'm always there to help them. I have people who are in my Spirit Medium Daniel group who are frequently messaging me on Facebook or messaging me on my phone and asking me a question. And every time they ask me a question, I'm there. I will give them an answer. If I'm not there at that moment and I see the question later, I absolutely help them because they're looking for that help, because they know that they can rely on me for that help. And I want to help them because I want them to get through their lives the best way that they can too, by again learning to listen, trust, and follow through. But sometimes they have a little bit of trouble of trusting it. So they come for me for that extra oomph of trust to let them know, yes, this is what you need to do. Or they ask me a question and I get the answer. That's what you need to do. Again, they're looking for a little bit extra because they're again, people have that problem with trust in this world because the world taught you not to have any trust and faith within yourself. I'm here to reinforce that they can trust themselves, that they have to learn to listen, trust, and follow through, and that I can provide answers for them that they themselves are not able to get at this present moment. But I am trying to teach them as well to be able to retrieve those answers for themselves without always having to come to me. But if they do need me, I'll be there for them. I'll be there for anybody. I get to do that every day. What's wrong with that? Nothing.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Before you go, if you could share one of the like most successful, I would say, or maybe most gift, the biggest gift, or you know, the story that maybe in your entire life,
I got a good story for you. I know
you
what you're
feel
looking
like,
for.
yeah, you feel like, oh my gosh, I really helped somebody with my
I
activity.
Yeah, I was at a show one time, um, over in Maryland, for Illuminate Festivals, and I'm sitting at the table, and these people are just walking by because they just opened up. So people are walking through, they're looking around, and I had this couple walk past me. They come up to my table, and I said, "Do you want to get a reading?" And they said, "Well, we just kind of walked in. We want to see what's going on first." I said, "Okay, I'll see you in an hour." So I said it like that. They were walking around. They were back an hour later. They come up. I said, "Okay, so who's getting the reading?" And the couple said, "My the husband said my wife's going to get the reading." I said, "Okay." So they sat down in a chair. I set up two chairs that time because there was the both of them. And as I do my reading, I tell them my little spiel. I tell them I can only tell the truth one way. I can't tell it 50 ways until one way suits you. Meaning, if you ask me a question and I get you the answer, that's the answer. If you don't like the answer because you don't like the truth, that's not my problem. That's yours. Lend or let it go. I communicate with archangels, not men with wings and shields and swords. I'm here to help you. They're here to help you with those answers. And I also tell people no one has a guardian angel following you around. If you had a guardian angel following you around, guarding you from everything in your lifetime, what would you learn? You would learn nothing. Okay. So let that guardian angel stuff go because it doesn't exist. They don't do that. Okay. Now, so what I did next is I hold out my hand. I say, okay, now hold my hand so I can see what's going on with you. And they hold my hand and I say, I always tell them, grip it a little bit tighter so I can see. And then I say, give me the good grip. So they give me the grip and I say, okay. And then I close my eyes and then I take a look what's around them. When this lady touched my hand, I said to them, now I said this, but they gave him a different answer, but it came out later. So I said, "What do you people got a farm going or something?" And I hear the guy saying, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Oh, I see this horse standing in front of you. I see a bunch of horses there, but I see a horse standing here next to you." And then he said, "A farm?" I said, "Yeah, a farm." I said, "But anyway, I see this horse standing right next to you, next to your right shoulder." I said, "The horse is like a brown and white color, like a cow would be, patchy." I said, "But the mane on the horse is strange." I said, "The mane that this horse had on top of his head looks like a blonde wig, like somebody took a wig and cut two holes in it and to poke them and put the ear through it and set it on top of this horse's head." I said, "Because that looks really strange to me." Um, and I said, "And the horse is standing in a stall, and it shows me the door opening up. The horse walks around you, miss, comes about, and then comes up and puts its head on your right shoulder, and then tells me you are its mommy." And I opened my eyes. I said, "What's going on with that?" Now, when I said that, I opened my eyes. The husband is sitting there going through his phone, looking for something. And I'm like, what's he looking for? And I said, yeah, I said, this horse just comes, it keeps showing me the door opening up, comes around in a circle, comes around, puts his head on your shoulder, said, this is my mommy. And then the guy stops and he picks his phone up. He said, is this the horse you're talking about? I said, yeah. What's the wig on his head? And he said, well, that horse is our horse. We had a portrait made of our horse. We hired a guy, a painter, to make this horse. Okay. And he gave us the painting. This is the painting. That painting cost us $5,000 to do. And I said, well, what's with the wig? He said, that painter painted his rendition of the horse and it had that wig on it. We didn't like it. We don't even have that picture anywhere in our home. We stuck it in a closet. And I said, yeah, I'd stick that in the closet too. $5,000, I'd be very angry. He said, we're still angry over it. I said, okay, so what's this part about the horse coming out of the stall and coming around a circle and putting his head on your shoulder? She said, well, we have horses. And I said, didn't I say, you guys, don't you have a farm? And they said, well, yeah, we just wanted to test making sure that you are who you say you are. I said, I am who I say I am. They said, yeah, we know that now. And the wife said, I go out every morning and I go out to the stalls and I feed the horses. Every morning I go out, I open up that stall. The horse comes out of the stall, comes around in a circle, comes up to me and puts his head on my right shoulder. And I said, yeah, and it's saying, you are its mommy. And then they both started to cry. And I said, why are you crying? And they said, our horse just died 2 weeks ago. And I
Wow.
looked at them and I said, as I always say to people, I can't make this shit up. That's what's going on. I said, the horse is here with you all the time. The horse is telling me that you're its mommy, and this horse loves you. The horse is never going to go away. When you pass away, I guarantee you're going to see that horse, and that horse will take you over, each one of you, when you do pass away. I can absolutely guarantee it because it's letting me know. Because as I close my eyes now and say these words, he's moving his head and telling me, yes, he will. The horse will be there for you.
Well,
Those people stood up, and I've never been hugged so hard by two people in my life. That's the kind of things that I get.
I completely understand. Well, thank you so much. That was lovely story at the end. And then I hope that more people can reach out to you as long as you're open to. And then thank you.
Always open.
Thank you
Uh,
so much for sharing your story. It's very interesting. I never had media on my show, so it was very powerful, and then it was very interesting to learn about you. So thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. So thank you everybody for tuning into another episode of A Gift from Adversity. I have more show coming up and I'm very excited to have more guests. So if you have some story about adversity and tools that you overcame and then a gift that came from it, please reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook, Juri, Juri Love, and Instagram at Juri Panda. See you next time.